Welcome to the HMG Executive Leadership Spotlight. Here's our host, Hunter Muller.
Hello, and welcome to the HMG Spotlight. I'm Hunter Muller, founder and CEO of HMG Strategy. I'm here with Lee Vorthman. He's the Chief Security Officer of Oracle Advertising. Lee, welcome to the program and congratulations on being a top 2024 HMG Global Leadership Institute CISO of the Year.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Hey, when we think about leadership, leadership matters more than ever now. When you think about leadership, how would you characterize your leadership style?
I try to take a little bit of an advisor type of role for the business. And so, when I interact with, different people in a leadership role, I'm trying to, give them the information they need to make the decisions, and particularly around risk, which is, my purview as a CISO. And so I go in and say, hey, here's the things that you should worry about. Here's the things that I think the business should consider, and give them the information and let them make the decision. I mean, that's the role that I have, and it seemed to work out well. I don't find that being in an adversarial relationship, which some CISO groups tend to be in, works out very well because the business needs to kind of move on and make money at the end of the day. And if you're there as the mafia, right, or the stoplight all the time, they're just going to find a way to go around you.
Interesting. When you think about it, in 24 and beyond, how do you look at your roadmap? How do you look at the enterprise architecture and roadmap for cyber, and where are you placing your bets?
Yeah, I think like all companies, I'll say in general, given the kind of fiscal climate, I think everyone is looking to do more with less. And for me particularly, I'm looking how I can do a lot of automation. I'm looking how I can use people in better ways. And so if you kind of stack those two things together, if I can automate the simple processes that people shouldn't necessarily be doing because they're repeatable, then I can level those people up to do the more advanced things that people are really good at that require decision making, and then kind of go from there and use them in a more effective way. And so, my roadmap going forward is how can I put the right technologies and processes in place to do that automation, to let those people be more effective in their roles.
You think relationships matter more than ever. Talk to us a little bit more about your leadership style and building rapport and relationships with the business.
I think it's really important, for leaders to not just focus, myopically, right, on their particular role, like, for example, security. I think it's important to learn all about the different ways that the business interacts and build those relationships with the CFO or HR or marketing or, a lot of those kind of softer areas, not just the technology branches, because at some point you are going to need to interact with them. You're going to need their help. And having those relationships up front is going to be really, really useful. So I spend a lot of my time, interacting with my peers around the business or externally outside of our business unit with broader Oracle to make sure that, I have those relationships so I can call on them when I need them. And, it sounds silly, right? But when you're having a conversation about what's your latest Netflix show or, what you did on the weekend, it sounds like fluff work, but that's a foundation you can fall back on as common interests, that you have with that person when you have to kind of have a hard conversation or really need something from them or vice versa.
Excellent insights. When you think about it, then building a high-performing team, looking back into your organization, what are the key principles on building that high-performing team?
I think when you're in a leadership role, there's a book called Range that I really, really like. And it says that, this is why generalists rule the world. I'm kind of paraphrasing. And so when I look at my leadership team, I want people that can be generalists, that can adapt to different situations, and get in there and do what needs to be done. And then, in this phase of my career, I'm really kind of taking a little bit of a step back from being the face of a lot of things and letting my directs come into that role, room to fail, room to grow, and helping coach them. And really, I find, especially with, the titles that some of us have, when you come into the room and you're the first to speak, you kind of suck the oxygen out of the air. And now everyone's like, oh, well, Lee said this, and so if you're the last one to speak and let everyone get that psychological safety and talk, and give their opinions, and then you come in and say, okay, I think we should do this. It gives everyone a little bit of that mind share for feeling comfortable in the decision that gets made. So I'm trying to be more of a help my team grow and help the people that want to be leaders and potentially take over my role in the future have that safety to do so, and vice versa. And then just the last thing on that I'll say is that in interacting with the rest of the business, I find a lot of times that we go and we ask them to do things like fix this vulnerability or close this exploit or whatever, and within those situations, I find that assuming good intent and then really honestly helping them to understand what your ask is and helping them to be successful and partnering with them has been really where we've found the greatest success.
Excellent insights, Lee. When you think about it, you're in a tough role. It's perhaps one of the most important roles of all technology in the organization. And there's a lot of new regulation coming down in the last year. How do you handle that? How do you wrap your head around that? And how do you communicate up to your boss and the board regarding these recent regulations?
The regulatory environment's been getting, very, very difficult, right? The SEC regulations coming out. There's DORA, right, in Europe. There's increased privacy regulations, obviously, for how companies handle data. It's difficult, right? And I think, what I tell my team and what I tell other CISOs I interact with is if you have a strong foundation in your program, right? If you have mapped to some sort of industry standard framework, if you're measuring that thing consistently, if you're using an objective way to measure those things, hopefully, right, those regulations shouldn't really catch you out too much. Now, obviously, there's going to be specifics for those regulations, but I think, my advice is to fall back on a strong foundation, make sure you're doing the basics and the things that these frameworks recommend, and then those regulations will be much easier to satisfy. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have to, do something like, build in a specific control or something for that regulation. But I do think this is the new reality: is operating in a highly regulated environment, trying to satisfy both the business and the regulators and customers and partners. It's the new norm for a CISO, and it's I think going to be very, very difficult, right, for CISOs to navigate going forward. And that's the job, right? That's, I think, where we have to level up and get to the next step.
Great stuff. Pivoting now to partners, how do you get the most out of your partners, and how do you build a world-class relationship with your external software and cyber partners?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so when it comes to partners, I want to do business with people that I think, are like-minded and friends. It's not a zero-sum game, right? And so I find being honest with partners, hey, this is what we can do. This is what you can do. This is what I don't like. This is what I do like, works out very, very well. And that helps to build trust, right? And then what I tell a lot of people is that if you think you're going to send, someone a random email and we're going to magically do a bunch of business with you, it doesn't really work that way, right? I think, forming those relationships on both sides, right? And when we need something, we can go back and call on that technology company, and vice versa. When they want to sell us something, we already have that relationship. So I find the more time that I spend with people that, not necessarily become my friends, but become people that I can trust, is very, very important for technology partners in the business.
Excellent. Great insights. Hey, Lee, thank you very much for being engaged with HMG Strategy. And again, congratulations on being a 2024 HMG Global Leadership Institute CISO of the Year.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
For more information, please visit hmgstrategy.com and keep up to date by following us on our social media platforms. Thank you.